I'm Elizabeth Ashley, the Secret Healer. Welcome to my channel, list of essential oils and their uses, and this video is the best essential oils for depression. So first of all, I'm so sad you're feeling this bad that you need to come and find a video like that, and I take the burden of responsibility for helping you quite seriously here, because obviously I've got a couple of essential oils, but I'm not an essential oil retailer. I am an aromatherapist, and so there are nuances to how we get you better, because it is a complex condition. So a couple of things I want to tell you. The first thing is this is part of a suite of videos for made for mental health awareness suite, which is essential oils for mental health. If you have a look down in the description, you will see that there are several different ones. So for example, most pertinently, this is best essential oils for depression, but there is also one for anxiety and depression, because the way that we treat a blended condition, a complex condition like that, is different. So have a look down the list and go, is this the right one for me? There we go. The next is that there are other things that I thought that you might be interested in knowing. The first is more about me. I'm not going to say it in this video, but there is an about me video if you want to understand why I might have some stuff to tell you that might be useful. The next is to clarify what essential oils even are, how they work, and finally there's a video that says, do essential oils really work for anxiety and depression? And you'll see the things and she'll say, oh, of course they do, but actually you might be interested by some of the things that I say, because it's not as straightforward as you might think. Looking at how information is being spun about science, that kind of thing, to cut to the chase, yes, definitely does help with depression. But I want to stress that I am a complementary therapist. That means I don't deal in alternative health. I don't deal in telling you don't take the doctor's medicine, because between you and I love my doctor just as much as the next hypochondriac. I believe in the tests that they do. I believe that their medicines are good, but in depression, not always guaranteed to work. And also, often it's a condition that's misdiagnosed, and there are so many people, the doctors will tell you themselves, there are so many people on antidepressants who just don't need to be on them. So this really is to help. The other thing is that antidepressants take a long time to work, you know, a good 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, and in that time there can have been real crises where people have really thought about death, thought about suicide, or even become suicidal and taken their own lives. And essential oils are tremendous at making interventions, of really questioning, making the mind work in a different way very, very quickly. So this is where this video hopefully will be helpful to you. So normally, if you're suffering from depression, some people feel sad. Some people feel that they're grieving and they say, I am depressed. It's not the same thing. Sadness and grief are normal. They usually go away after a few days. Depression is longer, more overpowering and complex and dangerous. And apart from this feeling of feeling sad and feeling hopeless and feeling very, very tired, all the energy goes, loss of appetite, or you eat everything. I mean, we've all comforted in our time, haven't we? We haven't necessarily been depressed. We've been sad for a few days, but we've shoved the shit in our face, eaten far too many chocolate bars, far too much ice cream. And of course, that can become a symptom of a longer progression. Loss of interest in things that often used to give you complete joy. So your kids sometimes, you know, postnatal depression, loss of interest in the kids, loss interest of how you look, how the house looks, your hobbies, your friends. You just don't want to do it. And often there becomes a fixation on the past, and things that have gone wrong, and they feel like there may be omens of what are to come, and that failure can be feel like a certainty based on maybe just one thing that went wrong. And we don't really understand why depression happens. Definitely sometimes it's a response to an adverse event, to a trauma, to a breakup, a loss of job, loss of home. Of course you would feel sad. Likewise, there can be a genetic disposition and problems with neurotransmitters and signalling in the nervous system. They all conspire to create this depression phenotype. And worst case scenario, we will see thoughts of death and suicide. So as I say, brain chemistry is a definite problem. Hormones, real problem. How many of you ladies can appreciate that most of the month you feel fine, but one week of the month you feel like the end of the world's coming? There's no end to the tears. You can laugh, can't you? But it's not funny, is it, when you're in it? It's just not funny. And genetics, as I say, all play a role. We'll see things like low self-esteem, anxiety disorders come along, or borderline personality disorders, postnatal, what do you call it, postpartum depression in the States, post-traumatic stress disorder. All of these things very much involved in depression, aren't they? It might have been a result to physical or sexual abuse, but likewise it may lead you to be the perpetrator of those kind of niceties, or even more likely to become the victim, because with your self-esteem so low, you're easy to manipulate, easier. And then also, weirdly, you know, if you are struggling with things like depression or anxiety or stress, you're more likely to have diabetes, more likely to drink more, develop alcohol tendencies, drug dependence, dependence on certain prescription medications. And of course, as I say, we might see a family history of depression. And even as we've talked about in other videos, your age might make you more prone to it. Old people are very prone, whereas as are teenagers, very prone. Gender, female, being female, for whatever reason, makes you more likely to suffer depression by a small margin. Race, there are certain races that are more prone, and even geography. So for example, if you live in the most affluent areas, life's easier, less likely to feel depressed to somebody who is in a flat in lockdown with 12 kids and no garden and no double glazing, you know. So socioeconomic, or is it, you know, it could be many different things, couldn't it? So how common is it? Well, actually, it's really common. There's only one larger cause of disability in the world, and that's back pain. It's a real chronic disorder. And of all the disorders, it's the most predominant mental health disorder, followed by anxiety, then schizophrenia, bipolar, and it affects 264 million people worldwide. So if you feel like you're on your own, I don't think you are. And of course it leads to real horrible suffering. So poor performance at work, at school, feeling isolated from your family, you know, and eventually it can lead to suicide, as I say. And sadly, it's the second largest cause of death in people aged between 15 and 29. So those figures may also be skewed by the fact that there's such a stigma involved in mental health. Thank goodness there's an awareness. Well, this is for Mental Health Awareness Week, but there is a massive drive for awareness around these things. But the stigma is still massive, and people are reluctant to ask for help, afraid to ask for help. when they ask for help, there's also a lack of qualified health practitioners who understand it. So you'll have inaccurate diagnosis, not good assessments, and then, like I say, get put on antidepressants when you shouldn't really be on them. Perhaps cognitive treatments or talking treatments might be more appropriate. So, of course, it can come in all different degrees. So you may have mild or moderate or severe. What can also happen is there can be chronic depression, then it gets better, you have a relapse, but then you have a remission, and then the relapse gets missed. And that's one of the key problems in mental health, that people who feel like they've got better have gone down and nobody's really noticed. Usually it's a response to an external factor, whether that's a trauma, losing your job, losing your house, losing your loved one, you know, being bullied. Stuff like that is usually what happens to it. But as I say, it doesn't necessarily need to be that. The doctor has really good drugs, SSRIs, all manner of different antidepressants, and they are helpful, but they have side effects. So they might make you feel sick. Eating all the time, so you put weight on, really increase the appetite. Sexual desire gone. All sorts of sexual dysfunction, erectile dysfunction, decreased orgasm. Again, might make you not want to take it. Fatigue, drowsiness, I've got an itchy nose, sorry. Insomnia, depression and insomnia, completely linked. And you need to sleep. They might give you dry mouth or blurred vision, or, like all the other tablets out there, constipation. So if the hemorrhoids are getting the better of you and you think, I've got to get off these things, it might be essential oils will help you to do that. But please don't give up the doctor's drugs without talking it through with them and weaning off gently. Now, we're going to talk about the oils in a moment, but I just want to stress that aromatherapy is both a science and an art. So whilst there is tons of science supporting us, it's really important that we hold the energetic side of how does it make you feel, you know? So we will start off the oils in a moment by talking a little bit about the science behind a couple of them, but mostly we're going to talk about how they make you feel. Because right now we're here because you want to feel differently, don't you? So without further ado, let's go into the oils. Right then, the oils. Now I'm going to use some cards as props. These are taken from the Tongue of the Trees. These are some cards that I made with my colleague Gergely Halodi, who is a Hungarian aromatherapist. And these are designed to tap into your psychology at a subliminal level, your subconscious mind. And with depression, that's very important, because the subconscious mind is overpowering your conscious mind, which wants you to pull out of it, but it's pulling you into the darkness. So these work by tapping into those. And if you sign up for my email course, I'll tell you lots more about them, but just here now we'll just keep relevant to using the pictures really. So the first one I want to talk to you about, the first essential oil that I use for depression, is jasmine. Its keyword is intensity. And so I always say, imagine sitting outside the Taj Mahal, and you're sitting by the river, and the moon's full and the air is balmy and just lovely deep. You can see the stars and everything else is left behind. There's an old Sanskrit saying that says, where there is jasmine, there can be no worry. You just get trapped in this euphoria. And it's just so powerful for things like depression, but also anxiety. For this, I would definitely recommend getting yourself an aroma pendant, because it smells like the most exotic and expensive perfume. So just one drop and the world will want to know what you're wearing, I'm telling you. And it's sexy, you know. So especially if you are losing the desire. This will get it back, I'm telling you. So this one I use, it's got like a little pocket. It's a little clay one that's been handmade, but I like it because it's got the back on it. So if you are using an aroma pendant perhaps, or lava bead bracelets, just make sure that the lava beads don't touch the skin. Not so much with jasmine, because jasmine's very benign to the skin, but if you were using something like cinnamon or lemon, that would irritate the skin. So something like this is great. Or you could just put it on a tissue and shove it down your top. That's what I do. But the main way I use essential oils these days, after many years of training, is to get a cup of hot water and just put one drop in, the single solitary drop. And I've been using this for lavender, but jasmine. Oh, jasmine's one of my favourite things to use, just to sit. And all you do is you sit there and you for about 5 minutes, contemplating the nature of the smell. I always say, see if you can find your way around the architecture of the oil. Can you see where it feels high and top note? Can you feel the low bits? In jasmine, it's a very complex fragrance. Remember that the essential oil is made up of hundreds of components of different things, so you should be able to feel your way around it. And just doing that, just suffusing the body with the scents, enlightening the senses, igniting sensuality in the body again. Of course, is sexual, but sensual, because at the moment, while you're depressed, you feel divorced from that reality. And perhaps some people say that life feels a bit grey, everything looks grey. So by using these kind of fragrances, we suffuse the psyche with colour, you know. Now actually, jasmine is white. It's a white flower. White flowers, actually, in ancient Western tradition of medical astrology, are ruled by the moon, and the moon is emotions and the subconscious. But it's feels rich and creamy and sensuous, and you start to feel things much more astutely and acutely when you're using jasmine. Just beautiful. It's quite pricey. You only need a small amount, and actually if if you're really a cheapskate like me, I use this cup, I put the oil in at the end of the night, and I do this before I go to bed, and I know that I'm going to have lovely sweet dreams. And then I leave it by the side of the bed, and then the next night I go, right, stick that in the microwave, heat that up, same drop. And we get to about 4 nights, and then my husband goes, no, we have to wash that cup up now. And I'm like, it's very expensive, but it just ignites it again by heating it up. Don't boil it too much, but that will do a world of good, and it will really save you some money. Next on the list, so this one was pink. It's a flower ones. Flower essences are so good for depression. I've got 2 more. I've got rose and ylang ylang. Well, to be honest, they belong together. They're such beautiful oils when mixed together, but we can use them individually. Ylang ylang is beautiful in one of these. Again, it's like this. It's very intoxicating. So the great thing about using one of these these diffusers is you can take it off as soon as you've had enough. But if your blood pressure is up, ylang ylang is super for that. But it's euphoric. You know, you just feel delight. The word on the card is delight. And I was saying on another video that I did earlier, it's like coming off the boat to Madagascar and being met by all these beautiful women with leis on the beach. That feeling of, oh my goodness, how beautiful is that? That's ylang ylang. Just captures that fleeting second of, how special is this? Ylang ylang. Also very hormonal, very balancing. It balances everything. There's not, most oils will stimulate or sedate, or, you know, it'll go up or down. But ylang ylang and geranium, always about bringing balance. Rose. Now, rose is all about relationships, but in particular grief. If you are taking antidepressants and you've noticed your sex drive has left the building, you're suffering with erectile dysfunction or delayed orgasm because of the SSRIs, there is a beautiful trial in my Rose Goddess Medicine book, if you have a read of that. Iranian researchers, and I think 2014, but I might have made that up. But it was these researchers, along with some researchers in Switzerland, gauged the effects that using citronellol, which is a component of rose, would have on sexual dysfunction from men who were using SSRIs. And without fail, every one of them said, I'm having better orgasms, the delay has gone off my orgasms, I have my erectile dysfunction's gone, my depression feels better. However, the pitfall with that is if you were to take the citronellol orally, which is what they did on the trial, you'd be spending thousands of pounds a day on the treatment. So that's not great, is it? However, 5 minutes, I'm telling you, 5 minutes every day with the rose really helps grief, really helps depression, really helps relationships generally, makes you feel so much happier, makes life feel less withered. It's just such a lovely medicine. But it's expensive. It is expensive. And so your next best is going to be geranium. If you want poor man's rose, go geranium. If you want to get better quickly, though, get the rose. Next, we're going on to red cards. Loads of them. These are the fruits. So we have lime, orange, mandarin, bergamot, lemon, grapefruit. All subtly different. If we were to say on the cards, lime unravels your feelings. So if you feel confused and tangled, lime. If you want to feel more positive, orange. If you want to feel more playful, mandarin. If you want to feel more anticipation in life and stop thinking that nothing good's going to happen, bergamot. If you want to feel more content, lemon. If you want to feel more confidence, grapefruit. Can you see the subtle differences? Now, grapefruit is a top note. What that means is it comes out the bottle really fast. But it evaporates very, very quickly. Just before I go any further, because these are fruits, if you were using these topically, there may be some issues with phototoxicity. So it might not be good to wear them in the sunshine. If you go to the Tongues of the Trees videos, we explain that in depth. But there aren't any issues when it comes to phototoxicity when you are just inhaling them. However, they are very fleeting because they evaporate so quickly. They don't hang around. You need base notes to fix them to make them hang around. So if you're using on an aroma pendant, fantastic, but have the bottle in your pocket to keep topping it up every couple of hours because it will evaporate. But what's also lovely is if you're going, right, I'm going to have lemon for 2 hours, then I'm going to have grapefruit for 2 hours, then I'm going to have mandarin for 2 hours, you suddenly start to feel these nuances. I feel playful, I feel more confident, I feel more content. So that's lovely, you know. And the great thing about top notes is they are cheap as chips. You know, some of the essential oils, the rose, really expensive. These are playful and you can just buy them for next to nothing, 2 or 3 quid. Definitely do it, definitely. They are what lift the spirit. They are so uplifting, so cheerful, so playful. They are the root of getting better. Most powerful amongst them, bergamot. This thing of anticipation for the future. That's so optimistic. There's lots and lots of clinical evidence about how effective bergamot is for depression. And if you were going to use it that way, I would say just have it here and just be wearing it all the time. Inhale, inhale, inhale. There is one other oil that's not in the deck. Again, it's a fruit. It's a Japanese fruit called yuzu. Y-U-Z-U. And yuzu is spectacularly clever for depression. I would heartily recommend getting yuzu. A bit of a nuance really here. I am doing lemongrass. So funny how it's not a fruit, it's not a citrus, but it does smell citrusy, and it's that smell that's the key. But with lemongrass, there's this hopefulness that the other oils don't have. This says, what if? And especially if you are looking to be creative and you want to do drawing and you want to do stuff and you think, well, in my case, but my sister's so much better at it, so I shouldn't bother. Lemongrass goes, but what if you were better this time? What if that wasn't in the way? What would that look like? And you go, okay, I'll give it a chance. I'll give it a chance. Lemongrass. It's quite the pile here. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck, aren't you? The aromatics now. The plants that are aromatic right the way through. Their flowers, their leaves, their stalks of the queen is Melissa, who is joy. Melissa means bee. This is the plant of the bee priestess. She is completely joyful because she takes you to the place where in your brain no trauma took place. The place, the meadow, where the flowers grew, where the air was clean, where the butterflies were around you before you got stung. She's innocence. She's absolutely beautiful. But the interesting thing is with Melissa, the Melissae, the bee goddesses, the priestesses and goddesses, would take you to the underworld psychologically in ancient Greece. And the underworld is not hell, it's psychology into the subconscious. And what's beautiful about Melissa is she comes back to the sunshine afterwards as if nothing has happened. She's just integrated those terrible sides that have happened to her and become out still in the sunshine. Melissa is really, really powerful antidepressant medicine. She's a lot of money. So the reason why Melissa is expensive is even though the plant seems to absolutely reek of lemons, that's why it's called lemon balm, it actually has a really low yield of essential oil. So you have to distill a lot of leaves to get the oil, so hence it's expensive. You can get two different types of Melissa. Melissa type, Melissa true. Melissa type is adulterated with lemon verbena, which is also beautiful smelling and is an essential oil in its own right and one of my very favourite essential oils. She smells the same. So yes, get the cheap one. Just get the cheap one. Inhale it. You'll still get the lemon balm. You'll still get the lemon verbena. You still get the joy. Are you sick of the sound of your own thoughts? Can't get out your head? Sweet basil is not gentle. She's not thoughtful. She's like a kick in the teeth. She goes, get out of your head. So if you are feeling disempowered by your depression, it's stopping you do things, but you want to get out, she's your best friend. She's very, very forceful. However, negative thoughts, the very definition of what's going on, isn't it? Negative thinking is the realm of cedarwood. I'm showing you two cedarwoods. Actually, this one here is a juniper, even though we call it cedarwood Virginian, but we call it cedarwood, and it has the same properties as a cedarwood. The reason why I'm doing that is because cedarwood atlas is now protected. The two of them, use this if you can. Very good at dissipating negative thoughts, helping you feel more positive. So I always say it's a bit like going into the temple in your mind, or a big church, and you go through the door and you suddenly read that it's vast, it's huge, it's cold, it's airy, there's all this space, and it's so quiet. And that's how your brain feels. Wow. It's quiet at last. And it's very, very powerful. You kind of get that from frankincense as well, but not in the same way. It just switches it off when you go through the door. Then just lastly, if you feel cool and cold and detached and numbed by your depression, two that you wouldn't normally think of, though you won't find them in texts. This is cardamom and black pepper. Spices. Spices actually interact with the dopamine receptor, which are motivation, desire, reward, all those things that you're lacking right now. So a bit of spice goes a long way, and they're just warming and contenting and lovely. So those are the main oils that I would have got out. If you came to me for a treatment, I'd have put those out. I'd have gone, these are the ones, and we'll go through these, and I'll go, right, how's that make you feel? So if I was you, I'd work through those and then come across, subscribe to my email course, where we're going to look at more ways to use essential oils. We'll make some roller balls and do some recipes on there, and just look at other aspects that might be able to help you a bit more deeply, because we're up to nearly about 50 minutes, I think, on this video. That's enough. That's enough. So I'm going to hand you over in a moment to my son, Dexter, who will show you how to become a YouTube wizard and to subscribe. Just note there are 2 subscriptions. Subscribe to this channel, but also subscribe to the email list, so I can send you stuff to your email and help you get better day by day. Thanks for being with me. I know it's been a long video. Hopefully I've given you a bit of hope that there are some good solutions, and that these are my best essential oils for depression.
So you get your phone, you turn it this way up, and then there's a little red subscribe button. Turn it grey by clicking it, and then there's a little bell. Click that and press all at the bottom of your phone or tablet or computer. It'll say you will receive all notifications. And then there's a little hand with a thumbs up. Click that, it'll turn it blue, and it says added to your liked videos. And there will be comments, and if you want to, you can send a comment and say like hi's to mum and dad, like. And then the link to the next video will be in the description below underneath the video. So bye.